Yes, facts. Everybody want to be black, but don't nobody want to be a nigga. Facts.
Basically. So welcome to episode 3 of VIVA podcast, where we're talking about Afro Diasporic communities, responses to BLM here in Germany, and different perspectives of what it means to be black here in Europe.
Yes, that I feel is like a really loaded question. I'm personally from the Caribbean, so being black in the Caribbean is like lit and shit. But since moving to Germany, it has been such a weird experience.
You've been here like 5 years.
Yeah. So almost 5 years. Yeah. And I was living in Hamburg first because I played professional basketball there, and I was literally the only black person in the entire team and what seemed like the entire town. However, the way I was received...
In Hamburg?
No, in Heidelberg.
Heidelberg. Okay.
Yeah, Heidelberg is beautiful, by the way. It's really nice, really beautiful. It's in Baden-Württemberg. I don't know if it's like east, south, north or west. I have no idea. It's in there somewhere. Yeah. But it was... It was as if like I was the only black person. There was one other guy that played on another team opposed to mine. He was American as well. Okay. But the teams were Black American, yes. So but the teams were super close. So we always went out and partied together and so on. And it was very evident that we were different from everyone else. You know, he and I would be vibing in the club and like whining and stuff like this, and then everyone would kind of look at us like, what is happening? You know, because they've never seen that type of culture or, you know, those kinds of things before. So it was very weird in Heidelberg. However, the people were really nice. I never felt any type of racism when I was there. Obviously it was new for people to be able to see black bodies walking around so often, but it wasn't, I never felt like I was not welcomed.
Okay.
And then I moved to Berlin, and that became a whole other story. Like in Berlin, you know, I came here and people were like, yes, it's so diverse. There's so many people.
It's very
you don't experience racism. It's experienced a fucking lie.
Yeah.
Like I've experienced so much racism here. Like in my home country, I experienced colorism, which is a whole other topic in itself. But here, like experiencing a blatant racism was just like, what? It kind of took me off guard, and I did cuss out some people and tell them some bumbleclot. They never understand what the hell I was saying to them, but I tell you one thing, I cussed them the fuck out. But it was just weird, you know, to be able to come here and then all these people like, yeah, it's so diverse, da 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 da. But then you have this type of experience, and the people are a lot less welcoming and a lot less warm in Berlin. And then when it comes to the black community, it's also not very welcoming and warm. I feel like there's a separation with the black communities here in Berlin. I feel like the Americans go like here, and then the black Germans go like here, and then the black Caribbeans and Africans kind of are together somehow. Because if you look at like the parties that happen and events that go on and so on, there's a lot of like mixture of the Caribbean and African culture. And I don't understand how it's closer, you know, in that sense. And then like the American culture is more like, you know, far removed. It's kind of like a search for elitism. Okay. And then the German culture is like, yeah, well, we're German and we grew up here, so we're not like you, kind of. The Afro-Germans, I don't really like to say the Afro thing because we are all fucking black. I see. We're all black, and I think that's one thing that could unite us as a people. So when you say Afro-German, Afro-Caribbean, African-American, blah, 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 it's like a way to separate. So I just say we black. That's it. Yeah. But yeah, it's just this very weird type of... I don't know, like this very weird type of like this distance between the cultures. And then a lot of Afro-Germans, I feel like they don't share the same experiences that we do. And then also I think growing up, a lot of them were taught to ignore, you know, the racism that they experience. My partner, for example, is mixed. So he's Afro-German, for lack of a better term. And he experienced a lot of racism growing up, but it's only when he met me and started dating me, and I started talking about these things with him, that he realized, holy shit, like my whole life I've been discriminated against and oppressed. And even he is now kind of feeling a kind of distance with the Afro-German community, because he's waking up more being with me. Not to say that I'm responsible for it, but you know, for this to be happening. So it's very, I don't know what has your experience been like being in Germany?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, first I see Europe as just like one, because before I came to Germany, I was living in Paris, because my father's side of the family has lived in Paris for like 25 years or so. So I went to France, did, you know, my postgrad year there, worked a bit in Paris, and you know, there's a very large Black population in France. Anyway, just by virtue,
girl,
you know,
I went for Afro punk. Woo, that was another story. It was so lit. It was so lit.
Really?
It was family. Really, it was just like a big barbecue. It was a big barbecue with dope ass performers, and SZA was there. SZA follows me on Instagram, by the way.
Oh wow!
She follows Tones with Melanin. Hey SZA, love you, boo.
What's up?
And she was there, and it was amazing. I was like, I love you. She said, I love you too. I had the video recorded.
Really?
It was so nice in Paris.
I have a different perspective of Black Paris.
Okay.
Because I don't know. It could just be because I was a little younger. So I was maybe in a place in my life where I wasn't, I don't know, really interacting or engaging in the ways that I would now. Yeah. But I always felt like if you are I do think that Black people in France are much nicer than Black people than the Black people in Germany. Yeah. Because even a few weekends ago, I was out and then I saw some Black German girls, and so my natural
reaction
was to be like, "Oh, hi."
Yeah.
But then they're like pointing and like laughing at me, right?
Really?
And they're like 20 something, like early 20s. So I'm not bothered by it. Yeah. But it's just like
what?
But I was just like, okay, that's different, because in Paris that would never happen. Like,
I feel like that would never happen in any Black community. Like you would see each other and be like, hey girl, right? But I feel like here, it's different.
Something's not working. Something's not clicking. Like I'm just like, it's just not, because I was just like, okay, this is so, I don't know. I feel like Black people everywhere have this sort of universal code where if you see another Black person, you're always like, hey girl. White folks don't have that. You know what I mean? Like, white folks don't do that at all. And so in Paris though, I remember sometimes people would come and ask like which Caribbean island I'm from, or you know, oh, are you from Togo, are you from Senegal, and it's like neither. And there's this disbelief kind of, or they don't really sort of understand you know, like African American identity more or less, because they're just like, yeah, but you are not, I don't know. Because in France, if you're coming from Senegal, or you're coming from one of the Francophone African countries, right, you would say that you're French before you're Senegalese, or you're French before you're whatever, because that's the country you grew up in, that's the culture that you know, spend most of your time in. And, you know, me as like a literal African in America, they're just like, well, but you're American. And it's like, no, you know, because you can be American with, I don't know, like Puerto Rican heritage, or you can be American with Chinese heritage, you can be American with Sudanese heritage, and that concept, that construction of like identity doesn't exist in France. And I thought that was so odd, because it's just like, it's not like you're one or the other. It's not like you can only be French and not Togolese, or you can only be French and not Cameroonian. Yeah. In fact, if anything, you're Cameroonian before you're French, right? And here in Germany, I mean, I've only been here like 5 months, but in Berlin, I mean, also the same thing. People are like, Berlin is so diverse, it's so multicultural. People are so open and welcoming in Berlin, you know, all these things. And I'm just like, one, where are the Black people in Berlin? Because I don't see none. I don't see nobody. I don't know.
I see people.
But it could also be because I'm in the East, and I've heard that most Black people, or most like communities of color, whatever, are in like the West. Okay. But I don't know. Like,
girl, I don't see them either. Like, I meet people on Facebook and then we become friends, or I met people on Facebook, then we become friends, and like, hey, let's hang out. But it was never like a natural thing, you know, for it to like develop this like this togetherness. It never really developed like that here.
The sisterhood element here is odd. It's fractured.
It's
like,
really, it's
that's
really,
what
really
it is. Like,
yeah.
Or I feel like most Black people will see you here as like it's like your competition or whatever, whether it's for jobs or work or just being visible in certain spaces. I think Black Germans like to be tokenized.
Yes.
Because maybe
that is it.
Is it?
I think so, because it's like I want to be the only Black person in this space.
To being the only Black person. So I feel like they just don't know how to mentally make room for it. Yeah. Because and I noticed this though, because I went to one of the Black Lives Matter protests here, and I remember it was just super strange because white people were interacting with me, Black people were interacting with me, Black people were interacting with each other at this protest.
They were not. Oh wow.
And I was like, if anyone here has the right to be like demanding justice for George Floyd, it's me, the actual Black American, like here. And it was just so weird because you can sort of see the visible, like I think Black people were not used to seeing other Black faces coming, like being hyper visible in Berlin. And I thought that was so odd because like, but you're here protesting for a Black rights in America, right? But you are surprised by the
amount of black people
in your backyard. It's just like, what's not clicking? What's not clicking? You know, like, and I honestly do feel like Black people here have embraced being tokenized because that's just historically the place that they've been in. That's where white Germans have placed them. Yeah. And I love how, or I don't love it, but it's just so interesting how a lot of white Germans like to say, well, you know, in terms of like things that have happened historically in Germany, like we're talking about World War II, World War I, etc. Like how, you know, these are the only atrocities that have existed in Germany. You know, like Nazi Germany, killing of the Jews, killing of the Black folks, killing of the Romani gypsies here in Germany, as if racism. Because there were Black people that were still in Germany in the 40s and the 50s and the 60s. You know what I mean? Like, as if, you know, that sort of era in German history just takes precedence over modern day racism because it can't exist because we've already moved past that. You know, we've torn down the wall. We're more integrated in like within Berlin itself, and it's just. It just blows my mind because I'm just like, something's not clicking here. Like, I feel almost like a lot of Black Germans as well are kind of afraid to upset white people, if that makes sense. Well, like in the sense of, I feel like a lot of don't get me wrong, there's a lot of Afro-German or Black German people who speak out, you know, against racism, oppression, and just like systemic racism, systemic oppression, and so on and so forth. There are a lot of advocates in general in the country. Advocates for the Black Lives Matter movement and for Black lives just in general, who write books and do all these things throughout history, and you know. But I feel almost like it's mostly people who have come here from America. Who have had to kind of initiate a lot of these things to start happening, and then it's like they with Black Germans, they're very observant, and I think Germans in general are very observant by nature, and they kind of just like to listen and then question. It's not they don't really listen to speak. It's more like I listen to question. Do you think everything. It's like they're just curious, or they're just
it's more of a curiosity about the movement rather than a connection to it. That's what it is.
Also, like I feel distance.
Exactly. I feel like a lot of Afro-Germans are distant, and I mean, you can comment down below if you are if your opinion is different from ours on this, or different from ours, but we are entitled to our opinions, so any negative comments will be deleted and blocked, just saying. But feel free to leave your opinions down below and we will respond accordingly. But I feel like a lot of Afro-German people are, as you said, like they distance themselves from the movement, or they just kind of feel
from the Black Lives Matter movement.
Not really, because they would show up, but it's just more of they don't speak out you know, like they're not as vocal as Caribbean people would be or as American people would be and so on. They're just not very vocal about the issues that happen. And as I said, that there are few, and I know a lot of Afro-Germans as well, who do write books, who do, you know, start protests, who do organize these things. I know that there's a lot, but it's not enough.
Yeah. For
the amount of Black and Afro-Germans who are in Germany, it's not enough. That's all I'm saying. But yeah, I just feel like, because as I said with my partner, he had to kind of, because his mom is a white woman.
Yeah.
You know, and he had to kind of grow out of, you know, taking offense or on her behalf, if that makes sense. Because I would say, obviously I say a lot of things about, you know, white people and what white people have done to us and so on and so forth. And it was almost as if he, because of his white side, white heritage, he was kind of like, yeah, but remember that this and that. And I'm like, yeah, but you're Black first. Because when people look at you, they don't see a white mother.
They don't see a white
They
man.
see a Black man.
Yeah.
And I have to kind of like nail that into him. And then he realized it, and he obviously spoke to her and so on. And now that she has been awakened to what he has been experiencing all his life, she has been doing the work, you know, to kind of wake herself up, read books and go like, oh, I'm so sorry that you had to go through this. Let me try to be better now and so on. So now he's not as afraid to speak out on the issues. And even with posting on social media, like, he wanted to post something, I think, about George Floyd, and there was this one video that was just really like out there against white people, and he was like, I really want to post this, but I don't know. And then I was like, post it, like, why are you hesitating, you know? So that's what I mean. Like, I feel like they kind of go within themselves because they don't want to offend white people. I feel like they're almost afraid to go with this because obviously they're
point fingers.
Yeah, exactly. Like, because obviously they have been surrounded by white people all of their lives, so then they're like, oh, my friends, what are my friends gonna think, you know, because I have mostly white friends, or what is my friend's family gonna think because I have mostly white friends and family. I think that's generally what it is. And then also, as I was saying with the elitism thing, like there's almost a surge of elitism from, I feel, the American Black people that come here, and also the German Black people feel like they're here and we're here. Because I hang out with all groups. Yeah, I have friends from all groups of Black German, Black Caribbean, Black African, and so on and so forth. And when I hang around with these people, it's so different. You know, and it's not all of them, obviously. It's just because I'm a very observant person, and I kind of look at this thing as like a whole, because my ultimate goal in life is to have us all join together in this fight against the fucking system. Not even so much against white people, because not all white people are bad, but fuck the system and fuck oppression and fuck racism. And my goal is to just bring us all together. So I like to observe when I'm around people and see what, you know, cues they give, like how the body language is and how their energy feels and how the aura is and everything like this. And if it doesn't feel right, I'm out, like, peace, bye. And so, like, being able to observe and be around these different groups of people, like, you see these different things and so on and so forth. And with the Caribbean and African people, it's like chill as fuck. Everybody's just vibing. It's like, you know. And then if somebody says something to us, or, you know, something to a Caribbean or Jamaican, we cuss out a blood clot, and then it's just done there. You don't talk to me again, I don't talk to you, don't walk in my path, don't look at me, and we done. But then with the other cultures, it's like they're working to be better than each other. That's what it is. You know the crabs in a bucket mentality? Like you climb over each other to get to the top. It's like you don't want to help each other out and band together. It's like I want to be better than her. Black Germans and Black Americans. It's like I want to, in Germany, yes. And it's like I kind of want to be better than her at this. So even if both of us do poetry, I'm not gonna give her the cues that I have because I want to be better. I'm not gonna give her the links that
token.
Exactly. So this like fight for elitism and for being better than one another. That's what I've observed.
I mean, it's just so sad that, you know, that it's like this competition for,
I hate it,
right to be put on this pedestal by white people in a white society.
Exactly.
You know,
like fuck that shit. No white person is gonna tell me if I'm good at something. Fuck you. I don't give a shit about your opinion, and that's on God. I don't give a fuck about no white person's opinion. Not one of y'all motherfuckers can tell me anything about me, yeah? No. Nobody can tell me nothing about me, but white people, y'all fucking opinions don't matter over here. Sorry.
I mean, and it's just
not sorry.
And it's just so crazy that, like, I feel like white Germans, again, because of, like, especially in Berlin, like Berlin's history of, after like World War II, etc., like white people have been, I mean, it's just like white Germans are just like racism.
Yeah. It doesn't even exist.
But we defeated all these other isms, right, in our like society. Like this is, like decades ago, but racism as if this is like something new.
Girl.
And the fact that like a lot of black Germans who are half white or half whatever are afraid to like shame or call out their white German friends.
Yep.
And it's just like, it's not your responsibility to educate, you know what I mean? Because I don't feel that we should burden ourselves with educating people about racism because it's not new. It's not like a word that just entered the dictionary like this year. Like, exactly. It's not like, it's like, no. Like,
you knew.
You knew.
Don't pretend.
And it's just like, but I think it is, sort of our responsibility to sort of help them acknowledge the privilege that they have in being white, because white people, when they're confronted with this idea of privilege because they're white, it makes them very uncomfortable. And I feel like for most of the white German, I mean, Berlin is a very white city. That's the thing. There's that. It is. Like, people love to say, the people who say Berlin is international or multicultural are other white people.
Yep.
They're not black people or people of color who are like, Berlin is very diverse. They have
exactly.
different ideas of
what diversity is. Girl, let's not talk about the companies.
Right?
We're so diverse. Diverse in white.
In white, like just because homegirl is a refugee from Ukraine don't mean that Berlin is a very multicultural city. Like it's not. Like, you know what I mean? Like I'm just, that's just what it is. Like just because she's crossed the border from Russia doesn't mean, you know what I mean? Like like how is that?
Yep.
I mean I'm not. It's a different. That's a different definition. People interpret things the way that they want to interpret.
Yes.
Things. People define things to fit their definition of what they think it is. But in terms of if you look at the demographics of Berlin, it's like a very white city. There are very few black people here. Whether they're from the Caribbean, whether they're from Africa, whether they're from America, and also I think I read recently like Germany doesn't even sort of take a consensus of the percentage of black people.
They did
here, right?
And we had, and
so it's even unknown.
Yeah, exactly. So the Each One Teach One, actually, and another company, I don't remember the name for the life of me. If anyone of you remember it, please put it down below so everyone can see. And I think I have the link, so I will actually link it in this video. That there is an Afro-German census going around now that was created by black people just now in 2020, 2019, it started last year. That is going around that takes a census of all the black people that are in Germany. And it's crazy. And like,
but it doesn't exist.
Yeah, it doesn't.
Like, that literally this data doesn't exist.
Yeah.
I mean, you can even argue that's like very oppressive too, because you're not keeping count of how many people are moving in and out of this country, and so then this is probably why white Germans feel that there is no racism. I mean, because they don't even know the number of black people that live here, and it justifies a lot of the sort of privilege that they have. But in my experience here, like with the different groups of black people, I mean, I haven't even really met a lot of African Americans in Berlin. I haven't met a lot of black Germans who, like born and raised here. And for most of the white people in Berlin that I interact with, I guess, on like a day-to-day basis, I mean, many people, because I'm also American, right? I feel like white Germans just differentiate, they just separate these sort of identity markers. So I've had people come up to me and tell me, well, you look very clean for a black person. You must be from America.
What?
You must be from America.
Never.
Because American blacks look much
diverse.
They present themselves. Yeah, in Berlin in 2020, American blacks present themselves much better than blacks from other places. In Berlin.
Girls, see, this is one thing. I think like people know who to try, because if some motherfucker came to me and said that shit, I would have been like, who the blood clot you think you're talking to? This is not my fucking blood clot. Black people, who are you? YouTube, please don't shut us down because but seriously, like, how rude is that? How
Someone really fixed their mouth to say that to me, and I was just like, all right, well, that's interesting, because one, you're just assuming that I don't speak German, so you're assuming I am foreigner. I'm a foreigner. You're assuming that I'm American, and that's my only sort of identity.
Yeah.
And you're actually saying this to me as if it's not problematic,
right?
You know, like someone really said this to me, and I was like, wow, okay, so white Germans see black communities or black people on different levels here.
Yeah.
If someone can, you know, like very confidently say to me, well, you look very clean for like a black person, and it's just like, wow. It's crazy. And so so the white Germans, you know, are just like, oh, you're American, like, how is it, you know, we're so sorry for what's happening there. I mean, America, as if it's like a third world country. I mean, listen, America, as it's going,
America is third
headed
world.
In that direction. Like, it's a rich third world country. But a lot of, you know, Germans sort of see me as American first before I'm black. Whereas I think a lot of, in the U.S., it's the opposite. You're seen as black or Hispanic or Asian before you're American, even if you were born and bred there, even if your family has lived generations in the U.S. And here, I think it's just so odd, because my Americanness protects me from racism that I may otherwise experience if I wasn't American.
Yeah, same with me.
Yeah.
For example, going to the
foreign privilege almost.
Foreign privilege. It does exist. Because, for example, going to the Amt, like I go there, the birth Amt and the whatever finance Amt, the registration stuff. So going there, like, as soon as I walk in, obviously they look at me and go, you know, because they think that I'm African or something, which I am. Just saying. But yeah, like they think that I'm African. So then what happens is I pull out my passport and I have a British passport. Yeah. And then they go, oh, and then their whole demeanor changes. And I feel so upset by that. And I'm just like, and every time I complain about it, obviously I'm doing my paperwork there and so on and so forth. So I don't complain to the people, because I'm just like, I want to get my paperwork done. Let's just do this so I can get the fuck out of here. But when my partner comes with me, I'm like, did you see that just now? And then even with housing as well, like they automatically look at me and then just go, no. Like, yeah. And the only time that I was able to get a really nice apartment for really low rent was when I was dating a white guy.
Wow.
That was the only time I was able to get an apartment. Now I have one, because the apartment that I was staying in, the guy that I was renting for before, he doesn't want the apartment anymore, so he's taken his name off of it. And luckily the company was just like, yeah, it's fine, just put her as the Hauptmieter or whatever. So now I'm the one that is in control of the apartment. But if it wasn't for that guy who was rented from, who is a family friend of my partner,
oh wow,
I wouldn't still today have an apartment. Like, wow. And this is the struggle that a lot of black people have in Germany, in Berlin, yeah.
With like the housing discrimination.
Yep. There's a heavy housing discrimination here. I remember at one point in time.
I've read about these. I mean, I've read about this on like forums, but I've never experienced it.
I remember one time when I had just sold my house in Cayman. I had over 30,000 in my account. I'm broke as fuck now, so don't even. But anyways, soon get there again. But when I sold my house, I had over 30,000 in my account, and you know, they check your bank account, your shufa, and all of this stuff. And there was a 1-bedroom apartment that I really liked in vetting. But you know what? I think it was just God saying that this is not the apartment for you, because one day someone broke in and stole my phone and everything like this. Yeah.
What?
So, as I was on the first floor. But anyway, so that apartment, and then I called them, and they obviously checked my shufa and everything like that, and like my